I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Yuwad and Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all First Nations, including Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who may be watching today's episode.
I think a big problem that we've got at the moment is that we treat drug addicts like criminals. All my decisions are revolving around this belief that's not helping me. So I was not putting myself first.
Pushing away everyone was easier for me. I felt like I was protecting them. I just wanted to be in my own little shame bubble for a while.
Our society is really broken in terms of addiction. And I just think the more that we create awareness around that, the more chance that we can actually see some change.
Welcome to Shit's Fucked, the podcast that gets real about addiction, mental health, and everything in between. I'm Paris, and I spent 17 years battling the bottle, 10 years hooked on meth, and I also did a stint in the escorting world, which nearly cost me everything, including my life. With both lived and professional experience, including qualifications in alcohol and other drugs, I'm here to share what I've learned along the way. Every journey is unique, and this podcast brings you stories, insights, and practical tools to help you find what works for you. Now, just a disclaimer, we dive into some tough topics here, including addiction, all forms of abuse, trauma, mental illness, suicide, self-harm, and the realities of life in recovery. These discussions can be intense, so please take care while listening and just make sure you're in the right headspace too. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast. Your support actually helps us more than you know, and it's one of the best ways to keep these conversations going. I hope you enjoy the show. So welcome to the show, Tiana. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Paris. How are you?
Good. I really need a new intro. I say that all the time. It's just like, welcome. Like, thanks for being here.
So it's fine.
I don't know. Why fix what ain't broke, you know? Now you're streaming in from Melbourne. Am I right?
It. Yeah, that's right. Melbourne, Australia. I don't know where your listeners are based, but maybe that just to clarify, you know?
I mean, definitely good to clarify. It's funny. I think I was saying this on my last episode recording. I've pretty much got a 50-50 of Australia and like the US as an audience. Yeah. So a bit of a mix. It's good. I like it. But we'll jump straight on in. So Tiana, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and, you know, what's led you to the work you're doing now? So tell us what said work is, firstly, and then a little bit about yourself. That would be great.
Well, my name's Tiana. I'm 34. And yeah, I'm a cat mum. So if you hear any pitter pattering around, that's my two cats running amok as they normally do. But I support the support network around people that have a drug addiction. So the families, the friends, the partners, the people that are going through it with the person in addiction. And I guess I started this journey because my brother is a drug addict and has been for a really long time. He is about 13 years older than me, and he started taking drugs when he was about 16. So the family's been through a lot together. He's still battling with his addiction. He's in his 40s now. And growing up, especially in my 20s, when I was like a bit more like aware of what I was doing and where I could help my family and what was going on, I was just trying to get some help, and I was calling hotlines and this and that. And I just found that unless my brother was wanting to get help, there wasn't that much help out there for me and my family. So that's where Consciously Connect came about. Just really wanted to help the people that were kind of stuck in that middle ground where like the person in addiction isn't quite ready yet or quite there yet to go and get them help themselves, which would then mean that the family gets the help. So just wanted to create a space for people to be able to get support in that area.
Amazing. And quick question as well. This isn't in the questions that I have written down, but in what platform is this business? Like, how do people access it? Like, where is it mainly based?
Yeah, so I have a room that I hire in Richmond, Melbourne, but I also can do online sessions as well with people. So it can be virtual, it can be in person as well.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to
Yeah.
clear that up.
Yeah.
Thank you. So through that journey, what kind of made you realize that the people supporting an addict often need just as much help as the addict themselves?
Well, yeah, I guess firstly it was that I needed that support. So I was like, oh yeah. The more I spoke about my experiences with people as well, the more I found that you either people directly know someone that's going through addiction or they know someone that knows someone that's going through it. So it was way more common than I had thought, especially when I was really young growing up. I didn't think that anyone else's brother was into drugs and stuff like that. It wasn't really spoken about. So yeah, I guess just realize like, oh, there's actually something there, and there's a lot of people going through this thing, or they know someone that is. So where is the support for these people? And like, what can I do something to help? And then through my journey of like my own self-exploration and finding out where the parts that I was playing in my brother's addiction and how I wasn't really helping him a lot of the time and probably making things worse. I realized that, and then I cleared all that stuff and worked out all my baggage and my things. I was like, oh, then I can actually do this for other people and help the quality of life for other people in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's so hard for the loved ones of an addict. I mean, I've obviously got the lived experience as an addict, but I do also have the lived experience of supporting someone I love going through that as well. And to be honest, when I went through that experience was when I really woke up to what I had put my friends and family through, because I found it so stressful. And I was like, I just want to shake you and wake you up from this nightmare. Like, why can't you just see, that life doesn't have to be this way? It doesn't have, and it was so stressful. I was like feeling constantly on edge. I didn't know, anytime I got a phone call from that person, I didn't know, are they going to be in a well state? Am I going to be screamed at? I was walking on eggshells a lot.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to expect because the behavior was so unpredictable. And it was even like impacting my ability to function on the day to day because it's so draining and so consuming. And there's just so much worry because obviously you love them and you just want them to be well and safe. And it can just take such a toll. And so when you were starting to kind of like look into, what supports are out there, did you find any other supports? Is that why you decided to start your own thing, because it was limited?
Yeah. At that time, and this is probably like maybe 10, 15 years ago, I didn't find any support whatsoever. I remember there being like one specific night where I don't know what my brother took that night, but he was on another level and he was living with me and my dad at the time. And like he was tripping balls, and he was about to tear the whole house down. He had a crowbar and he was ready to knock everything down because he was hallucinating really bad. And at that point, I knew nothing about drugs. I didn't know what could make you be like that. And I didn't know where he was going to end up or what he was going to do next. So I was calling so many hotlines trying to get information. And everyone I spoke to on the other line like hadn't experienced drugs before. So they were super nice and super caring, but they just couldn't give me the answers that I needed. And I think it's changed a lot now. And I was having a look the other day, and there are places that support families and friends now. But 10 years ago, there definitely was not much that I was aware of. And I'm so glad that that's changed because, it's definitely getting worse out there. You walk down the street and there's way more people that are on stuff than what there was that 10 years ago and even 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I'm thinking like, oh, then if there's so many people out there on the street like that now, then that's so many more family members, so many more friends. Like there's just so many more people impacted by this problem.
Yeah. And honestly, like it just made me think about the amount of times that even I've had to try to get help for someone. So for example, going into those states of drug-induced psychosis, which is exactly what your brother had experienced, and having those violent outbursts, especially when that person is living within like the family home, that can be so confronting and so scary. And then it's like, well, what do I do right now? And so often people, will call like the police or the ambulance. And then I think about even that system we have in place at the moment. I mean, yes, there's definitely more supports out there, but I also think about the intervention support in those times of crisis to make sure that the family is safe, the addict is safe, is still really traumatizing and still really intense. Like having all the police rock up and ambulances, like it's really confronting. I would love to see, a completely different team department that deals especially with that type of stuff, because I think that would be so helpful for the family, but then also like the addict as well in those moments of crisis.
I think a big problem that we've got at the moment is that we treat drug addicts like criminals, and
We
they
do.
would be doing this stuff if they weren't on drugs. So let's treat them for their addiction, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll have a better outcome. My brother's been in and out of the system like so many times, in jail, out of jail. And every time he comes out, you get a glimmer of hope because he's sober, but it's not like he's actually rehabilitated in there. So it's we're punishing him for crimes and theft and whatever he's doing to get what he needs, but it's not actually we're not fixing the problem. So
No. Yeah. Ugh, I could go on about that for days, but let's go on. So much to talk about there, honestly, but we could only one step at a time. Oh man. Well, so for many people loving someone in addiction, so you'd mentioned before that, sometimes like you realize that you weren't always helping your brother. So it becomes like all consuming, and, people might not even realize they're enabling certain behaviors. What are some common patterns you see in these relationships, and how can people start recognizing when they're caught in that cycle?
Yeah. This one, I think, like, I remember having the biggest light bulb moment, one of the biggest ones in my life. I was doing my coaching course, and we were learning about the drama cycle. And the drama cycle is just like a view on how the way conflict plays out between people, whether in families, even on drama on TV. And it says that there are 3 roles in every drama situation. There is the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim. When people are in those roles, they chop and change and they move around and around this cycle, and it's very toxic, and everyone switches and turns and twists around to fit into these 3 roles. And I remember it clicking for me how it was playing out with me and my family, because I naturally fall into this like rescuer mentality. I mean, my family was like, if you're trying to save someone, you're a good person, right? But it meant that like I'd like lose myself in the process many a times, right? But what I worked with my family was that Jason, my brother, would be the victim, like, oh, I'm struggling, I need money, I need this, I need that. And I would rescue him, and I would give him some money, help him out with whatever he needed. And then he would do something that would piss me off or cross a boundary or whatever it was. And then I'd switch into persecutor mode. My dad would then jump in and start rescuing because there was a gap there. I'd start persecuting, like, oh, you shouldn't treat me like that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't, I can't believe you did that. And then something else would happen. Me and my dad would switch again. And then I'm rescuing Jason again. And then my dad's, and then it was just going around and around. And it had been like that for so many years. And then when that clicked, I was like, whoa, I thought I was helping, but I was just putting fuel on the fire,
And that's a really big realization to have as well. I mean, that would be very confronting as well, to be like, oh, maybe I wasn't doing the right thing by him.
Yeah. Yeah, I really thought I was at the time. And I think a lot of people in this situation, they think they're helping because They don't know what else to do, firstly, and they think these little things are actually going to make a difference. And there's so much fear, like, oh, if I don't give them this, or if I don't do that, they're going to go and do something else, or they're going to go and hurt someone, or they're this and that. And it's like, you're just adding to it, and you're not really, like, sometimes just like take a step back and see the part that you're actually playing in this cycle. So yeah, that was the biggest.
Yeah, it's such a fine line too, because I mean, there's the polar opposite where, there's people who just absolutely shut those people out because they're like, nah, like can't have a bar of you anymore, like no contact, kicked out of the house. I want nothing to do with you until like you sort your shit out. But then that can be also like just as damaging. Like it's like, where do you find that fine line, that balance between protecting yourself, not allowing your boundaries to be crossed, ensuring you don't lose yourself, as you say, like within the process, but then also still being a support for that person. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really like, how do you do it? What's the balance?
Yeah. So I think it's just about like prioritizing your well-being and realizing that it's not completely tied up in like your loved one's choices. Like, of course it really hurts, but it's possible to like care deeply without losing yourself in the chaos of it all. And the key to that is, of course, setting boundaries. I don't think it's the kind that are cold or punishing, and like I understand why people need to do that sometimes, and I've been there before, and I've done the cold and punishing, right? But there's a different kind that comes from like self-respect, clarity, and love. Boundaries are there to like protect your energy and your peace and your identity, so you can still be that like parent, sibling, partner you want to be, like, even though the things are messy, and you can do that in different ways. So yeah, I learned to set boundaries with my brother, and he pushes them sometimes, but he knows where I stand now, and we have a really good relationship. And it's so weird. I never thought that I could say that. And there's times where I have to be firm. There's times where I have to be cold. But it's very contextual, and it's just working with him and working with myself with what I need at that time.
Yeah, and I think that's so important as well. I know what really helped me in my situation as well was I just really tried to come from a lens of loving compassion. And I guess like because I had the lived experience as well, there was another level of empathy there for that person because I could obviously really relate. But I also knew like, hey, like this is really starting to take too much from me. And I feel like my cup's getting a little bit too empty and I'm not filling it up as much as I should be at this point in time. So there was points where I even had to be quite like firm with yourself as well and just be like, hey, like right now at this point in time, I actually can't be in contact with you because like this is hurting me so badly, but like I love you so much. Like this is not me saying like I hate you, I don't want anything to do with you. I very much still want a relationship with you. I just know that we can't have that right now. You're not well. Like I want to see you get well, like, and get help. And like, please do. Like, I'm worried for you. But I just can't be a point of contact until you've decided to take those steps. And I mean, that's hard too, because obviously, you can't control how other people react and how they feel, especially when they're under the influence. It's just so messy. It's unpredictable. Often a lot of those feelings aren't even their real feelings, but a lot of the time you can feel, abandoned or rejected when someone does that. But I don't know. I think it's better to come at it in that kind of approach rather than being harsh with the tough love and being like, not like, get out, nothing to do with you, like sort your shit out. I just think that can actually, do more damage than good, because if you come at it in a way where you're still holding that space for them and you're still showing them that, there is a lot of love there, when they are ready, if they are ever ready, then they know that you are a safe person for them to go to when they are ready to make that change. And I think that's really important too, to still have that net for them there when they are ready.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, it's like not judging them. That's the thing that's going to push someone in the opposite direction. And if you are criticizing their choices, they're just going to go and hang around with people that don't do that,
It's so true. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
All right, listen up, legends. If you're looking to experience the real Western Australia, there's no better way than with Why Not Bus, who is one of our sponsors. I've actually been on their tour, and let me tell you, it is awesome vibes, epic adventures, and I made lifelong friends. We're talking snorkeling with sea lions, manta rays, whale sharks, camping under the stars, and taking your time to enjoy the beauty of WA. Use my discount code PARIS2025 and get $300 off your next tour. Go to www.whynotbus.com.au.
If a kid at like 15 years old is starting to experiment with drugs and the parents don't understand it because they've never tried that stuff themselves, so instead of trying to come from a place of love and compassion and non-judgment, they can really point the finger at their kid because they don't understand why they're making those decisions, which makes their kid just go they're further and further away from them,
Yeah, and I see that all the time. But it's hard. Like, you can't obviously blame the parents for being in that position either, like they don't know better. They're not educated enough. Yeah. And look, they're hard situations. Like, they're not easy. So I think it's always good to get support if you have someone who is, battling an addiction, because it is really hard to navigate on your own. Like, it's best to have someone, by your side, like a professional who knows how to navigate those types of situations, because it's too much. It's too much to do on your own.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And a lot of people don't tell anyone as well. And then they're stuck not communicating to their closest people because they're scared they're going to be judged because someone that they care about is stuck in addiction. Like, whoa, like that's when you need those people the most,
Absolutely. And even like going through my own addiction battles, like my family, I mean, they're from the boomer generation, so they already struggled with communicating and, telling people how they feel in general. Still struggling with that today. Slowly seeing a shift though, which is good. But they just, I don't know. I don't know if it was the shame. This could be obviously my own feelings. I'm making assumptions here.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was something where, telling someone else, my daughter, my son is going through this, and, I guess it could make a parent feel like it was their fault, or they haven't done enough, or they're not doing the right thing. And maybe that could be another reason why they hold it back, because I don't want to tell people what's happening in my family. Then I'll look like a bad mom, a bad dad.
Yeah. And that's why parents were like that too. They didn't speak about my brother's addiction for years and years and years until they realized that they weren't alone. And it started happening within our extended family with other people, and it just became really common. And now we just talk about it.
Which is so good.
Now,
Yeah, that's amazing that you guys have come all that way. It's beautiful. It's good to see that you guys have united like that now.
Yeah. Look, I think trauma brings people together in the weird
trauma
way.
Bonding.
We all dealt with it in really different ways, I cannot say that anyone in my family has dealt with my brother in the same way. It's all been really different because all of our situations are different. My other brother has kids, so his situation is very different. He's protecting his family, and there's so much involved, and it's very contextual. So it's never the same thing goes the same with that type of situation. It's so contextual for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So one of the other hardest truths as well in regards to someone who's battling addiction is not everyone in addiction wants recovery. So that can be really heartbreaking for families and loved ones. So how do you help people navigate that reality without, them falling apart in the process.
Yeah, it's a tough one, like not everyone wants recovery or is ready for recovery. And but you don't want to, like, being a family member, like I don't want to lose hope with my brother either, so yeah, it's like, how do you get that balance right? And I guess the only way to do that is just to like keep like setting your boundaries, prioritizing yourself in situations in your health, being kind and compassionate and all those things that we've said before. And then eventually, like, you'll get to a place where you can just like be comfortable with who you are and the decisions that you make in terms of navigating that situation with your loved one.
And have you come across like many families who have, tried to actually hold like an intervention or like tried to like push them into treatments or rehabs or anything like that?
Yeah, sometimes it can work and sometimes people aren't ready yet. And with my own experience with my brother, like we took him to rehab earlier on in his addiction, and yeah, he just wasn't ready. He didn't take it seriously, and that was it. And I know families that have spent hundreds and thousands of dollars and it hasn't worked for their loved one. And then you hear someone in addiction that was in addiction say, like, when I was ready, nothing could have stopped me from getting off it. That's when my brain decided that I was ready to change, Yeah, we can't flick that switch in someone else's brain unless they want it flicked.
Oh, it's so true though. Like I mentor a few people, and that's something that I've always said is that, you can't help anyone who isn't ready to help themselves,
Yeah.
that classic saying. And I know my family, sometimes they hold guilt because they're like, oh, we should have done more or we should have done this. And I was like, it wouldn't have made a difference. Like I was not in a place to receive that. So like, it doesn't matter. Like if you did go and get all the professional help in the world, I don't think I would have reacted very well to that at that point in time. I was just so scared. I was so scared as well. And there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And so pushing away everyone was easier for me. I felt like I was protecting them. I just wanted to be in my own little shame bubble for a while because for whatever reason, I'd convinced myself that, that was the best place to be. And but it was hard. It was really hard. And I know my family's had to go through a lot of healing with that. But I was like, look, once I did, get to that point where my perspective was starting to shift, that's when it became a lot easier. I still was very, I was still scared, and I didn't jump into like rehab or support groups or anything like that. I started with an AOD counselor because I was like, it's one-on-one. No one has to see me out in public. Like, it's just me and her. Like, I'll start here and I'll just see how I feel. And yeah, it was good. It did eventually open me up to try and like support groups, but I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, and like everyone's different. Like some people don't like speaking in front of a room of people in general, like, and an addiction has nothing to do with that, So whatever works for the person is the way that they're going to want to do it. But sometimes we think of, what would I want in that situation? What would help me, instead of thinking of actually the person that we're trying to support. And make that mistake with everything in relationships and this and that. We just think, oh, I know what needs to happen here. It's what will help me. That'll work,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, we're all guilty of that. Hey.
I probably did it this morning with my partner. Like, we always do that shit.
I already ticked that box today. I love it. Oh my goodness. No, but it's important. It's important to recognize those behaviors, and especially when we're coming from a place where we're projecting our own feelings into the situation and thinking we know better, but we're really just coming from our own perspective from the this is what I would do, so this is what they should do kind of mindset. So yeah, it's a weird one, but addiction can often create like deep cycles of codependency as well in families and relationships. So what are some first steps for someone realizing they might be stuck in that pattern? Because I've definitely seen that. I've seen families who have just constantly provided money, support, whatever they need, and then they've become quite codependent on each other.
Yeah. So I think it comes back to this like drama cycle piece that I spoke about before, because when we're doing things for someone in this drama cycle, so say you're rescuing, yeah, and this is what I was like when I was the rescuer. I'm getting something from that interaction. And people really struggle to admit to that part. Like, I'm feeling like I'm getting my worth here because I'm such a good person that I'm helping my brother all the time, right? And at the time, I'm not consciously thinking like that, yeah. But deep down, subconsciously, that program is there, and that's giving me that validation that I need, that I'm good, you know. And that's the stuff that I see play out everywhere. It's like you tell yourself that you're doing this to help the person, and you definitely are, but there's part of it that is there to fuel yourself, and that's where it's toxic. It's not actually you think you're serving, but you're actually just serving yourself too in a weird way. That is how our weird brains work, you know.
Yeah. So what are like some first steps that someone could take to kind of break out of that? Like what could someone do to, they've already done that, but how do they step back out of it?
Yeah, how do you take a step back, see how it's playing out, make some tweaks in what you're doing. So you'll notice, like, if you're rescuing, if you're always giving money, what happens if one time you don't? Test it out, to baby steps. We don't want to go too hard too soon. And I would just make some minor tweaks in that relationship. When you say, instead of giving money, say, oh, you can come over for dinner and have a nice warm meal or something like that, and see how that interaction plays out instead. I think it's just about like just trial and error sometimes, and just taking a step back and seeing, like, if there is this toxic conflict going on, what can I do to make a shift to change that, how that's playing out.
Yeah. I think that's actually really wise words. Because we don't really want to just cut it right there and change everything straight away, because that could be quite impactful on both parties, really.
Yeah, been playing this narrative out for so long, and then suddenly it changes. No one's going to know what to do. We need to just we need to just take minor tweaks, little bits here and there, trial and see. And that's how I worked out what was working and what was not working, and also by getting help myself. But oh, why don't I just try this day and see how that plays out? And then I can go back to doing it the same way I did it the next day. But why don't I just see this one day and see if there's a different outcome?
Yeah, which I can understand would be really tough as well to even start to make those changes, because I guess you'd be so scared of like the reaction, what kind of headspace are they going to be in? Are they going to get angry at me? Like, am I going to be dealing with the full like throttle effect of that? That would be really hard as well.
Yeah. And look, there's safety is important. And if you've got someone yelling and you feel unsafe, then you need to protect yourself and do whatever you can. So trialing something when someone's angry, like, it's not the right move. You've got to do what you can in that situation to stay safe. So I just want to make that very clear, So I wouldn't recommend making any changes in that situation. But there's times where it's not like that. And you can just try something new sometimes.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thanks for sharing that. Now, I know that we have previously spoken about your background in like business coaching. So now you're branching out to support the loved ones of addicts. So what does working with you look like, and how do you help people shift their mindset and, reclaim their own lives again?
Yeah, so working with me, like, it's a journey. I like to think that when I work with someone, that they don't have to see me forever as well. My program is like a 10-week program, and then I believe you'll have the tools to go off on your way, you know, but I'm always still available anyway. But yeah, it's just it's a weekly discussion. You can also like message me throughout time as you're trying these new things and implementing some change. I'm there with you along the journey. I work at nights because I've got my business coaching during the day, and yeah, it's just a process of understanding your situation, understanding who you want to be in this situation, and then giving you the tools to be the person that you know you can be and want to be.
Yeah, amazing. And now I know you've also mentioned that you've studied NLP, hypnosis, and you, I guess, have some feelings towards the Western medicine and traditional systems. These like kind of alternative methods shape the way you support families of addicts.
I think mental health these days is Western medicine kind of like sometimes, not always, can just give you a pill and say, be on your merry way. And I don't think that always helps. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it can really be what someone needs at that time, but sometimes it's not what people need. And I guess, I've studied an NLP and hypnosis, and it's really just clearing all of the stuff that we have to be able to relax our central nervous system to be able to then deal with whatever situation comes our way. And that's where I found it so powerful, because we have our own programs, our own beliefs, our own stuff just fluttering around in here. And it means, and with hypnosis and NLP, we just work through all of that, your own stuff, so that when you're in a situation that is challenging, you are way more equipped to deal with it, and you're not falling into that drama cycle, that toxic patterns. You're there, calm, solid in who you are and how you want to approach it, and then you don't walk away going, oh shit, I could have done that better, or shouldn't have said this. It's like, I know who I am, and I know how I deal with these situations now.
Yeah, amazing. And so like for someone who doesn't know what like NLP or what hypnosis is, could you walk us through a little bit about like what that is?
Sure. So NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming. It's simply just like how language shapes our reality. And the way that we see the world is based on the language that we use. So, for example, if, say, a really simple situation happens, right? And I label that as, I drop a pen and I'm like, oh, that made me stressed. Yeah. And then I have something serious happens and I use that same word, stressed. That my body can't understand the difference between those two situations because of the language that I've used in both of those contexts. So it's just like unpacking where we're stuck with our language and what we're using and how we're articulating ourselves and how that's forming the world around us. And hypnosis is all about just getting in. There's so much stuff about hypnosis. It's so funny what people think. Like people think that you're just going to be clucking like a chicken and all that stuff, and that's just how it is. But what it is just relaxing, being in such a relaxed state that I'm speaking to your subconscious or unconscious mind. So our behaviors like programmed by like 95% is done by our unconscious or subconscious mind.
95%?
95.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that.
So, you know, when you keep doing that thing and you're like, why am I doing that thing over and over again? That's why.
Oh, man. 95%? I thought I had more willpower than that.
Yeah. So that's where hypnosis is really helpful, because it goes in there when you're the most calmest, relaxed state. And we just work through all that stuff, all that programming that you're not conscious of yet. And we bring it to the conscious mind. And that's the same as NLP. It's just about bringing that stuff out from your subconscious mind and bringing it to your conscious mind, and then working through it once it's in your awareness. And that's how I came up with Consciously Connect, because I just wanted to, that's all about bringing up that stuff in the background and bringing it to the consciousness so you can work through it all.
That's amazing. Sounds terrifying, but also good.
so weird. Like every day I'm just like, what the hell? Like we're so strange.
Our minds are just so powerful. Like I'm just so fascinated with the human brain. It's a
It's
whole other
just
level.
even like if you have a belief, like I believe that. So I believed throughout this whole time that with my brother's addiction, that like it was my responsibility to save people, and I had that belief from something that was programmed from when I was like 4 years old. My mum was struggling with her mental health. So I got this belief that I needed to save everyone because as a kid, I was just trying to help everyone all the time. My brother's in addiction, my mum's struggling. And I just thought like that was my job in the family. So growing up, if I think that that's my responsibility, and when I believe that to my core, all my decisions are revolving around this belief that's not helping me. So I was not putting myself first. I was making decisions that weren't helping me in my career, in everything, because it's my responsibility to look after my family, which isn't helping. And through doing this kind of stuff, that's when I was able to unpack that and clear it. And you can just replace it with something else that's more resourceful and better for you.
Yeah, and that would be really hard to navigate as well because I know even myself, I used to be like a real people pleaser. Sometimes those tendencies still come up and I feel really guilty about it, but then I have to be like, no, like it's okay. Don't like, I guess hammer yourself for it. I'd get really like upset at myself if I felt I let someone down. But yeah, that was just a belief that I had created that, I needed to make everyone feel good. That I didn't want to make anyone feel bad. I needed to make everybody happy. So I just completely disregarded my own well-being. That came last and everyone else's came first. And it wasn't until like, even now when I sometimes catch myself still doing it, because I'll be like, oh my gosh, like just imagine how they're feeling and like what they're going through. And he'll be like, what about your feelings? And I was like, I forgot about those.
And you know what? Like I'm the same, and I have to check myself all the time. My partner says the exact same things to me, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, but the difference is now is that you're just conscious of it.
Yeah.
Like, but before that, you would have been like, what are you talking about? My feelings.
Yeah. I wouldn't have questioned it. I wouldn't have stopped and wondered about it or anything. Yeah. So no, it is important to have those things to the forefront. It really helps in changing the way that we behave and interact with the world, and that then improves our quality of life.
That's it. And that's all we try to do, hey? Just comfort and quality.
Yep, that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah.
So if someone was interested in using your services, how could they best find you and what are like the costs involved, if you don't mind sharing?
My website is www.consciouslyconnect.com.au, and I have an Instagram page as well. That's Tiana_addiction support. So you can contact me on either one of those. On the website, I've got like a free drug information pack and like lists all the different types of drugs and has a really detailed description on what they are, how they are used, how that impacts people, like a very detailed briefing on all of that. So if that's something that you want to have a read of, please have a look. But yeah, I guess I do sessions online and in person. I normally charge around like 200 a session. And I also work with families like in Melbourne. Like I'll go to someone's house with the family if that's what they'd prefer. Otherwise, we've got a room in Richmond as well. But yeah, I enjoy working in person, but I also can do the same stuff online. There's obviously like the barrier with working in front of a screen, but like we obviously can work through that. And if anyone's got any questions, they can reach me on those details.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So to wrap it up today, if someone listening right now is struggling with the pain of watching a loved one in addiction, whether that person wants help or not, what's the one thing you'd want them to know?
The one thing is that I want you to know that you're not alone and to please speak to someone about it if you haven't already. I I'm really passionate about that specific thing. And the reason is because I think that our society is really broken in terms of addiction, and we don't do, and we mentioned before around like convicting drug addicts and treating them as criminals instead of treating them for their addiction. And I just think the more that we create awareness around that, the more chance that we can actually see some change. And the more that we talk about it and remove the stigma around addiction and the judgment around addiction, the more that people can see that actually just convicting people and treating them as criminals for things that they're doing because of their drug addiction isn't actually helping. And then we can maybe see a shift in society. So just be open about it. You'll be surprised how many people know someone directly that's going through it, or they know someone that knows someone. I did like a poll on my Instagram last year, and I think it was like 60% or 70% of people either knew someone directly or knew someone that knew someone. So it's more common than what we think.
Very wise words. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, thank you for coming on today as well. It's been so good chatting with you. And yeah, I'll be in touch. Another sign off I keep saying. I'll be in touch. Speak soon. I don't know. How do you end these things?
I'll speak to you soon then. Cool.
Yep. There we go. Ended. See ya. Goodbye. No, but seriously, we're ending now.
Okay.